Alrighty, so let's understand the concept of HTML entities. Now, what are these HTML entities all about? Why exactly you need them? What's the purpose behind them? Now, the HTML entities are the reserved characters in the HTML that must be replaced with the character entities. Some characters are reserved in HTML. For example, use less than symbol, greater than symbol in your text. The browser might mix them with tags. Let's take one example. I open the Visual Studio Code and I just create an HTML boilerplate. And you will see that the tags are represented with these same symbols. For example, we are using the HTML tag to define the head of our HTML page. Then we are using the body tag to define or to specify or jot down the body of the web page. Or let's do one thing. Let's include the p tag for the paragraph. So I want to include an anchor tag to include the HTML links. So I just go ahead and define or specify one of the website links to include an anchor tag. So just to have, for example, AWS Management Console. So just go ahead and include something. I just create a hyperlink. Fine. Or I just put something in the p tag, or I would say I just create a paragraph. For example, 6. Let's do one thing. Let's include a number. 6 is greater than 2. Fine. Now, the issue with this, when we use the symbols like greater than, less than, pound, yen, euro, dollar, the problem that we may face is that this may confuse the browser, because the entire code, the text, is being interpreted by the browser. Now, what you're doing in this case is that you're using the same symbols by declaring the tags. For example, p tag, a tag, any type of tag you're using, and at the same time using the same symbols to do something. I would say to form or to be a part of a text, right? So you are kind of confusing because these special characters are already reserved. And if you use them as part of text, this may confuse the browser because we're already using the same symbol, greater than symbol, to mention or to declare the tags. And we're using the same symbol to declare something from our end or to be a part of a text. So how to solve this issue? As a solution, you can make use of HTML entities, and these entities are used. So these are the reserved characters in HTML that must be replaced with character entities. So what you do is that instead of using the symbols as it is in the form of text, what you can do is that you can just go ahead and start going with the reserved entity name or entity number for that special symbol that you want to use. For example, if I want to use greater than symbol, then I can use the entity name. This is the and symbol, GT, then a column, or I can use the entity number. Okay, let's go do one thing. Let's copy the entity name as it is. I just go to my Visual Studio Code and just go ahead and just replace this thing with this entity name. Now, this will not be confusing for the browser to interpret this entity name. Okay, let's do one thing. I just go ahead and I open this in the browser. So I just go ahead and open the page itself. You will see that the symbol remains as it is. The symbol remains as it is. So if I just go ahead and instead of using this thing, I can use the entity number, right? So I use the entity name for greater than symbol. I can use the entity number. I just copy it right now, and I just go back to the VS Code and just go ahead and just replace it with the entity number. Okay. Now you will see that if I just go and hit refresh, absolutely no change. Okay. So the HTML entities are very convenient to use. So when you start coding in HTML and you're already using some characters as a part of the HTML structure, for example, I've already demonstrated that the greater than symbol, or I would say less than symbol or greater than symbol, they're already used to declare the tags or to process the tags in the HTML. So if you use the same symbols to declare the text, or you want to include these symbols as a form of a text, you don't want to confuse a browser. You don't want to create a confusion when the browser has to process this entire data or this entire code. Let's take one example. I want to include this pound symbol. So I can just copy either the entity name, or I don't have to copy it. So let's do one thing. I just go back to the VS Code and I can declare something over here. So I just include a p tag. Let's type in the cost of this item is, for example, I just put in, let's put the and symbol and then just put P. You can see that P-O-U-N-D. I can see that the pound is already included. And I just put, let's suppose, 70. So the cost of this item is 70 pounds. So I don't have to declare the pound character as it is. I just put the entity name, and once I just go back to the browser, hit refresh, and you will see that now the character, that's the pound symbol, is declared without confusing the browser. Fine. So the HTML entities ensure that the browser does not mix the text with the tags if you're using the special characters as a form of text, whether it's a greater than symbol, less than symbol, pound, yen, euro, cent. So that's about the HTML entities. You can just explore this page. Now, one thing that's very important, the entity names are case sensitive. So you have to make sure that if you're declaring the entity names, you have to use them as it is. So basically, the alphabets that are using should be in lowercase, no uppercase allowed. So the entity names are case sensitive. So for example, if I just go ahead and put, let's suppose, and capital P-O-U-N-T, you will see that it will not be processed as it is. So it will throw an error message. So this will not be interpreted. So if I just go back and just hit refresh on the browser page, you will see that it will throw an error message, and it is supposed to do that or it will not display anything. You will see that it is just took that as a text. So the entity names are case sensitive. So if you just go back, I'll just do the correction, or I can just put in, for example, small case euro. Okay. So I just go ahead and go back and just hit refresh. And here we go. So, okay, so I did something wrong. I put 2 semicolons. Now, here we go. So this is all about the HTML entities. I'll be including this web page link in the description. You can just go through it, and you can just try some of the HTML entities and just try that on your code. And also, you can just go to W3 Schools webpage, click on try it, and you can, for example, just run the code and test it and see that how it works for you. So that's it. Thank you so very much.